So I promised a while ago that I would talk at some point about a visit to the fertility clinic, and I didn't get around to much of anything for a variety of reasons. My computer broke, my mother-in-law visited, my computer broke, I had to deal with illness in the home, I've had stress at work, my computer broke again and again and again. It's finally fixed, by the way. Turns out that my RAM didn't work for the board that it was designed for. Yeah. So, I was going to talk about the clinic. Now, I do have some footage I took in the actual room, but it turns out it's kind of boring. It's a room. It's not very big. It's got a small chair, a funny little cube thing that's supposed to work as a table, a bunch of porn magazines, and a TV hanging from the ceiling, and a whole lot of these things, like in a bag, like 300 of them, but I didn't take a picture of that because I'm stupid. By the way, I stole this. Thank you, Alberta Healthcare. I stole this from a clinic when my wife got bursitis in her knee and we had to go and get some anti-inflammatories, which were free. That was pretty cool. I wanted to talk about the issues that I had with this clinic, not my personal issues, because you don't really want to hear about my junk. By the way, this is going to be a video with some mature languages. I may say penis at some point. I may even say masturbate. If you can't handle that, turn it off 10 seconds ago. So, I go into the clinic because my doctor suggests that I do this. I'm there so that I can masturbate into this cup so they can test my semen. I go and they send me to a room, even though I'm early. Turns out they're not very busy at the fertility clinic. Go figure, you'd think guys would be there, you know, lined up, but hey. So the pretty girl sends me off to a room. There's the room, there's the magazines, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm an old hand at this, so to speak. These are the hands I use. I'm gonna do my thing, and I realize that there's a logistical problem with this. In fact, there's several. First off, there's the issue of the pressure of a pretty girl just sent me in a room. She knows when I went in there, and she knows when I'm gonna come out. I'm wondering what's going through her mind, and I know they're professionals, they see this every damn day. This is nothing new. Rationally, I know it's stupid. But I'm thinking, is she going to be, you know, timing me? Is she got a little stopwatch? Are they gossiping? Oh, hey, that guy just went in there. Let's see how long. I bet he's 5 minutes. They got a pool on this, right? And she's guessing 11 minutes, maybe 12, and then she'll win $15 and get a free lunch. By the way, before you do this, they ask you to abstain for 3 days. That's 3 full days of nothing. And so I'm holding a magazine and sitting in the nice little chair and doing my thing. And by the way, how do you sit in a chair comfortably without, you know, actually taking your clothing off and exposing your naked flesh to the chair? This is something I'm getting concerned about, but I'm going to set that aside. So you've got your penis in one hand and your magazine in the other, and you're doing your thing, and you realize that it's about time to go, and then you realize that you need to somehow get this into the ready position. I only have 2 hands. So this is a problem. Obvious solution to this is to use the video monitor, which is across from the camera, hanging up, you know, right where you can see it. You turn it on, there's a porn looping, it's just a very short scene, nothing really exciting or interesting, but whatever. And that works just fine. So you've got your scene to get you going, you've got your penis in your hand, you've got your cup in the other hand, and then it's time to go, and you go and take the cup and... Now this is where we run into another problem. A penis, when erect, stands at, let's say, roughly a 45-degree angle. Let's be generous, you know, ignore funny little curves or, you know, Bill Clinton bends or what have you. You know, Japanese porn stars, let's not even go there. Let's say your average penis is, you know, 5-6 inches of 45-degree angled man flesh. That's standing at full erect, and it's about to ejaculate at an angle, again, of 45 degrees. And you put this over it. Take a water gun, shoot it in there at 45 degrees, and see what happens. Not really a viable solution. So maybe I don't know, I stand up and I lean forward at almost 45 degrees, so I'm more or less straightened out. And I don't know, that then you're bending your back over while you're working at it, and I mean you're not necessarily, I don't know, some guys are going to go slow, some are going to have to go faster, but either way, this is not a comfortable position, and you need to be comfortable. Let's face it, you can't get yourself off when you're not comfortable. I've been in this room too long already thinking about how I'm going to manage this now. Then you think, well, maybe I'll just sit back, relax, and just sort of angle it, kind of turn. Now, I'm going to illustrate this concept. Now, let's say that this rolled up Post-it, reminding me to do the laundry today, is a penis. And let's say this is a person. So this, oh, look at that. Okay, this person is trying to masturbate into a cup using his penis. It's time for him to go, and he goes, oh, I better turn it. His little hands don't even reach. That's kind of sad. He can't even. He says, okay, I'm going to point my penis into the cup and ejaculate so they can test my sperm for inconsistencies. So he points it sideways and... oh! And you see that little... Now that's actually what happens to a penis when you point it sideways. I managed to do my business, and I am not proud of my work. It is, let's say, substandard. But I figure they're used to this. They deal with this all the time. I'm sure lots of guys have problems with pressure, with tension. It's a hot day. I walked here from the train station. I was almost late because I couldn't quite find the place. There's a lot on my mind. Yeah, I'm maybe a third of my normal volume. That is, in fact, the term they use. But anyway, I drop off the cup, and then I leave. The girl doesn't give me a second look, so hey, that's cool. And I get a call from my doctor's office from the, I don't want to say illiterate, what's the word for when you can't speak English? Anyway, the secretary calls me and says, oh, we need you to go down and give another sample. I say, well, why? Is something wrong? She says, no, it was mislabeled. So I'm thinking, how often does the Diagnostic Semen Laboratory in Calgary mislabel the only canister of sperm in their little basket? Because it was the only one there. But I said, okay, I'm going to put down the penis analog now. Okay, I'm going to go in. I'm going to do another sample. Maybe I'll even do better this time. Heck, I'll take another day off beforehand. I'll build up all my pressure. I'll go in there with some pictures of my wife on my phone, maybe. I'll do a better job. I didn't do a better job. I did the same job. I did the exact same damn thing the second time. And believe me, I am familiar with my own volume. I know how much is a high volume, how much is a low volume. If I mess around for 2 hours, I'll produce a whole lot more than if I have a nice 15-minute break. But this is low even for that. This is low for a 5-minute break. This is low for a, oh, I got time during the commercials. I handed in anyway because, you know, they hadn't said anything about the volume before, then they're probably not going to say anything about it now. They're just going to test it and be done with it. Well, months went by, and this is a different thing entirely. Turns out the fertility clinic lost our paperwork, then they moved, and they found it again and called us back to finally make the appointment to go over the results. And I'm not even going to get started on the tests the women have to do for these places. Holy crap. What I'm saying is a lot of frustration of stuff, but what she had to do, holy crap. We go in there and meet our doctor, whose name was humorous, but I can't remember why. And she mentions that my volume is low. And I try and explain myself. I say, okay, well, there's extenuating circumstances. Volume is relative proportionally to arousal, comfort, and there's all these reasons. And she goes, oh, every guy says that. I didn't just say it's never happened to me before. I said there were reasons, there's mitigating circumstances. Well, every guy says that. You have low volume, this is probably why you can't conceive. By the way, that's why we were at the fertility clinic, because we've been trying to make a child for a while. So, secrets out. And I get in this fight, and finally I give up and say, fine, whatever. And she says, oh, by the way, there was an awful lot of pus in there. You seem to have some sort of infection. What? And she goes, yeah, that's why we had you do the second sample. No, you had me do the second sample because you mislabeled it. And she said, no, we don't mislabel samples. We had you do it because you have an infection. Shouldn't I have been informed of this? Maybe so I could get other tests done or inform my past partners. I'm thinking, what's living in my testicles? This is not a good thing to hear from your doctor in the afternoon. I gotta go to work tonight. I'm all of a sudden really stressed out. And she says, oh, well, we'll do another test and we'll see what's happening. And this is tangenting, have a broken tooth back here. A while back, it got infected. I was in an awful lot of pain for a couple of days. Went on to a round of antibiotic. After that, it got infected again. I went on to a different antibiotic, and it cleared up. So I've been on 2 rounds of antibiotics between the time of giving these 2 samples and the time I've talked to this doctor. I mentioned this. I said, well, I have been on antibiotics twice, so could that have maybe cleared things up? She said, oh, it's possible. We'll do another test anyway. I said, fine, fingers crossed. Same damn thing. And this time, I really thought I was going to, manage what I would call a good job. And it surprised me. You ever been surprised? Okay, this is going good, and whoa. Oh, I had a premature episode with the cup. This is ridiculous. And I wanted to talk about another thing, and now I'm going to break the sterile seal. Oh, no longer sterile. Let's say that let's be generous and say that this is the penis. So, you're doing your thing, you put the cup over the end. Now, what you can't tell is that the edges of this cup are kind of jagged. So, you go to point things, and all of a sudden you're pushing. This is not a comfortable sensation. This is like making love to a box of nails. And it can be a showstopper. It can make things stop working the way they should. So you're on your way to filling it up, and once again, not my standard. Below average. Let's call it that. I handed the sample anyway, knowing that if I stay long, I have to give another. It's just going to seem weird because I'll be in there half an hour. Do people spend half an hour in those little rooms, or do they spend 5 minutes? I don't know what's normal. How long do you people take to masturbate? Why don't you leave a comment? Right down in the comment section there. Or don't. I hand in the sample, and I'm dreading it. And I tell my wife, I know, we're going to have this fight with the doctor over my volume, and I don't think that's what the problem is. Of course, weeks later, because she's got to have her battery of tests too, again, holy crap. We go in, and the doctor says, well, your volume was low, and I'm ready for her this time. And I say, there are circumstances. There is this relative ratio of arousal to volume. If you want me to take 2 hours, then let me know, and I'll take 2 hours, and I'll produce a sample. And she goes, oh, you could have brought one in. Yeah, it turns out, they won't tell you this. They will accept a sample that you bring in from home, as long as you do it promptly, or I guess refrigerate it. I know with urine samples, you have to either refrigerate it or get it to them within a certain amount of time. I could have just stayed at home and filled the cup to however high, and they would have accepted that. I could have walked in there and said, here's my sperm. No, they didn't tell me. I had a fight with her after 2 samples, and she didn't say, hey, why don't you bring one in? So yeah, that's my big lesson. Oh, and by the way, they didn't find anything wrong. There's no longer infection, although they don't know what it was, so all of my months of worrying about HPV were for nothing. In conclusion, it was surreal, uncomfortable, and for God's sake, ask your doctor if you can bring in a sample from home.